here. Today I want to talk to you about transportation to and from the Appalachian Trail. Although I'm going to be focusing more on just Springer Mountain and Mount Katahdin for through hikers, I will cover some tips throughout the video that will be helpful to you section hikers, and I mean at some point if you plan on becoming a 2,000 miler you will be at one of those endpoints, so you should still find this helpful. The main reason I haven't covered this topic yet is because I had somebody to take me to Springer Mountain and I had somebody come pick me up from Mount Katahdin in Maine, so I didn't really have the issue of traveling by public transportation. Although I know not everybody has somebody that can take them to either one of the endpoints, so let's go ahead and cover some ways that you can get to and from those points. There are probably other options for the current year in AWOL's guide as far as transportation, so you want to check that out, but what I decided to do was just kind of pull some of my fellow thru hikers to see what they did as far as transportation and share that with y'all. Before I get started, I want to recommend, as I always do, that y'all should get AWOL's guide. You can find it at theatguide.com, and for those people who are section hiking or if you're on a real budget, sometimes you can find a used copy on Amazon, but it's totally worth the price. In fact, I bet a lot of y'all asking the question probably don't have the AWOL guide yet, otherwise you would see transportation options in it. So there will be other things covered in AWOL's guide, other options that are relevant to this year. Different places pop up, different shuttle services and things like that, so be sure to check it out for your most current year. But for you section hikers, that is going to be a great way to know where you should park, because it's listed in there at the different trailheads, exactly where parking areas are and things like that. So if you're starting at Springer Mountain, Georgia, and you're going to be northbound, you have several options. Basically, you can either get to Atlanta, Georgia, to the airport, so you could rent a car and drive there and drop the rental off there if you wanted to, or you could fly there, and then you can also get a bus or a train to Gainesville, Georgia. From there, if you're at the Atlanta airport, you can take the MARTA, which is M-A-R-T-A, and that is the Metropolitan Atlanta Rapid Transportation Authority. I can see why they call it MARTA, because that is a mouthful. Anyway, so you can take that to the northernmost point, and from there you can catch a hitch from the hiker hostel. Now, the hiker hostel, again, I didn't stay there. I caught a ride straight to the approach trail, but apparently they have some kind of deal this year, and I'm sure they'll do it in years to come. So for $85, you get a shuttle from that MARTA station. You get a night stay in one of the rooms. It's probably a bunk room at the hostel. You get breakfast in the morning. You get 8 ounces of alcohol. Not alcohol, but fuel, because all of you are like, but Dixie, if you fly, you can't take your fuel. No, you can't, apparently. So, but they have worked out those details, and luckily they have fuel canisters for sale there, and then they also have liquid alcohol that would be included in that $85. I think the fuel can, you'll probably have to pay extra for that, but it's really not a bad deal. They'll either take you to Amicalola Falls, where you can sign in and weigh your pack and all that, or they'll take you to a spot where you can just go straight up to Springer Mountain if you want to skip the approach trail. I'm pretty sure that they take reservations. In fact, they have to, pretty much, to know when to pick you up and all that. I'm sure they want those details ahead of time. But if Hiker Hostel is full for some reason, you could always get a direct shuttle from Atlanta, if you decide to stay there for the night, or if your flight's early enough that you want to go straight to the trail. And there is a guy named Survivor Dave who has picked up some of the folks that I hiked with and taken them to the trailhead. If you end up in Gainesville, Georgia, apparently the hiker hostel will also shuttle people from there that ride the bus or train, and again, if they're full, you could stay there. In the Atlanta area, you probably would be able to call Uber or a taxi, so that's an option too. You're gonna find a way to get to the trail if you have to use the old method of just thumbing a ride. One of my fellow thru hikers from 2015 said that he did fly into Atlanta and he actually had his trekking pole stolen. So one option that you could consider is mailing some of the bulkier stuff like that you would have to attach to the outside of your pack, mailing it ahead to the hiker hostel or another place if you intend to stay there, and have it waiting for you there when you get there. So I don't think that happens a lot. I didn't hear of that happening a lot, but it could happen. And apparently Survivor Dave also in his shuttles expects that people who have flown in will need fuel, and you can find it either in town, or he would probably shuttle you somewhere to do that. Alright, so for y'all Sobos that are starting up in Maine, bless your hearts, I'm just kidding. But anyway, for y'all coming down, you're going to probably fly into or ride a bus into Bangor, Maine. And then from there, there is a bus lines, I think it's CYR bus lines, that you can ride to Medway. Then there are several shuttle services that can pick you up there and probably take you, depending on the time, either straight to the trailhead or into Millinocket to stay the night. Now, apparently the shuttle services will come get you from Bangor, but that's like 90 miles out, and I think it's like real cheap, like $12 or something like that, to ride the bus lines to Medway, and then, you know, it'll be a little bit cheaper of a shuttle or taxi to Millinocket, where you can stay for the night, get a good night's sleep, and then wake up and get a shuttle or taxi to Baxter State Park and start your journey up Mount Katahdin. Now, obviously, you got to get home, right? So if you're starting in Springer and going to Maine, or, you know, Maine back down to Georgia, you'll just do the reverse order of whatever I said. The main thing that I want y'all to do, though, is to not set an end date for yourself and buy a plane ticket to go home, or go ahead and establish your transportation to get back home. I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but it's really hard to know exactly how you're going to be feeling, what you're going to want to do. You know, hopefully you won't get injured or something horrible like that and not finish the trail, but it could happen. So I would not recommend setting anything in stone as far as travel to get home. You might meet the most amazing people in the world and decide to go on a week-long road trip, or, you know, something crazy. We had talked about getting up to Katahdin, and if we had enough time, riding bikes home. You know, I mean, you just never know what you're going to want to do. Don't stress about it. There will be people around you, probably, if not taxi services and things like that. Don't tie yourself to a schedule. One of the beauties of the trail is just having the freedom to kind of make your decision. So, of course, getting to the trail, you kind of need to, you know, put that in stone, especially to get rid of the jitters of worrying about it. But as far as getting home, don't stress over it. It'll work out. Most of the people on the trail were like, what are you doing to get home? It's like, I don't know. I figured I'd, you know, think about it for 6 months and figure it out when I got there. All right, I've had several section hikers ask me, you know, if I go out on a 5-day trip and, you know, I hike 5 days away from my car, am I going to have to turn around now and walk 5 days back to my car, or only limit myself to, you know, 2 days and turn around and walk 2 days? Or, you know, how exactly do I get back to my car? Well, if you have the AWOL guide or a similar guidebook for the area that you're going to be hiking in, then there are most likely, because most people have capitalized on the opportunity for business in these areas, so at the different trailheads, there's going to be a hostel that's close by, and you can, you know, potentially either park your car with them, or at the trailhead where you plan to end. And then, I mean, that just would seem like the easiest way to me, so you're not having to schedule a shuttle for, you know, 5 days in advance. Again, having some, you know, flexibility. So what you would do is park your car where you plan to end, either have the shuttle service drop you, you know, up north so many miles or down south so many miles, and then you walk back to your vehicle, and it'll be right there at the trailhead waiting for you. Or potentially some hostels will let you park with them, or hotels, things like that, that have shuttles to and from the trail. And, you know, and then you can arrange a shuttle to be picked up if you need to do that. But I think having your vehicle waiting there for you, you know, would just be easier. And again, for you section hikers, there's always thumbing a ride. All right, y'all, hope that was helpful. I'm going to have a little blog post with this information in it, and I'll have the link to that in the show more below, so that you can, you know, check out some of these details. Maybe this will save you a little time doing some research. You know, maybe it'll kind of lead you in the right direction of where to do research. But either way, if you have any questions about this information, feel free to put it in the comments below. And also, like I said before, I created the Facebook group, Homemade Wanderlust Backpacking Forum, that has past thru hikers, future, you know, thru hikers, and just all kinds of people with backpacking experience for different trails even. So feel free to come by there, you know, post your transportation questions, and there will be a lot of people in there that can tell you what they plan to do or what they've done. Also, before I go, I've had people asking me, what are you doing about the PCT? Like, what gear are you taking, and when are you going to tell us about that? When do you start? Calm down, all that's coming. I kind of want to wrap up the AT before I get into the PCT stuff. So before I leave, though, I will be sharing my gear selection with y'all, and covering all that. So and it won't be long until I start the PCT. So anyway, I hope that this was helpful today, and if you have any questions, again, feel free to comment below, and we will see y'all next time. Okay, so I am here at Amicalola State Park, and there's this nice little compartment overhead, so that's the opening, where you can put like a headlamp.